don't know about y'all, but I love a Reese sticks. I ain't even gonna cap. I had to go all the way upstairs just to grab this, just to grab it. You know what I'm saying? You can't go wrong with this. You know what I'm saying? Can't go wrong with this. But it's been a minute since we watched some short horror animations, so that's what I'm about to find. I don't know what we watching. You know what I'm saying? We about to just find it. You know what I'm saying? So this first story is called Camping Alone. I clicked on that because that sounds crazy in itself. Like, why would you go camping alone? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's get straight into it.
I was spending a couple weeks in Montana last year.
That's kind of loud.
I had a camper I was living out of, set up on the back of my truck, so I was usually parking on campgrounds, or wherever there was public land. This was one of my last days, so I had to start heading back from the direction I came. Unfortunately, I had a bit of trouble with my truck that day, and it took most of the day to fix. So by the time the sun was setting, I'd barely made any progress on my drive. I got a coffee from a gas station and decided to go at least for 2 more hours, then find somewhere to camp out the night. Over the next little bit that I was driving, the road cleared up and was pretty much all to myself. I used an app to find the nearest place I could camp at, and I found a spot that was just off the road on public land. When I got to the turn, it was a thin dirt path that went about a 1/4 mile into the woods. At the end was a small grass circle surrounded by the woods and nothing else. It was vacant of any other campers. I parked on the end of the circle, facing the exit, then walked around to the camper and got in. I think it was probably 11 or 12 by then, and I was just about ready to fall asleep as soon as I laid down. Only a minute or so later, though, a beam of light shined through the edges of the privacy screen that I had on my windows. I sat up and lifted the corner just enough so I could see out the window. Someone else's headlights were coming down the path. As they got closer and up to the end of the path, they slowed to a stop. It looked like they saw me and maybe didn't want to camp at the same spot, but instead of turning around, they just stayed there on the end of the path. I could see that it was a truck,
Hop in the car and
pretty
pull off,
old
bro.
looking,
They about to
with
kill you.
rust all over their front bumper, but the headlights were too bright to see much of anything else. Since they were still on the path, too, their truck was facing directly at me.
I'm gonna mute y'all so I won't be smacking y'all here.
Something about this felt off. It was just a gut feeling, I guess. But after a few minutes of them sitting there, I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep here. I folded up my bed and got up. Before I could leave the camper.
But I feel like bro wanted to die. You out camping by yourself, which is stupid, you know. That's some people think, you know. Some people, hey, I ain't gonna knock them, you feel me? Do y'all thing. But you out camping by yourself. People pull up and stare at you while you sleep or whatever the case is. And the first thing you think to do is, let me fold up my mattress. Like, it just don't make sense, bro.
And get into my truck, though, one of their doors opened. I looked back out the window. They had turned their headlights off, and 2 men were standing outside in the dark.
Hey, huh?
They began walking toward my camper, and I could only see the outline of something in their hands. I covered the window again and listened to their footsteps approaching. They were trying to be quiet, carefully walking around my truck until they both suddenly stopped. It was like they suddenly knew somehow that I was awake. "Hey, can you help us? We're just in need of some directions. Can you open up?" I was terrified now, and from their voice, I think they were drunk or something, so I had no idea what they were capable of. I snuck a look out one of the windows and could see one of them right up against my truck, holding a type of crowbar, sledgehammer, or something similar. That confirmed their bad intentions, but I still had no way to leave without getting out of my camper and
That's
into
stupid
my
how
truck.
that's made. Like, what?
One of them walked up to the door, scraping something against it and pressing into it. definitely trying to pop it open. I don't know why I was still trying to be quiet, as if they didn't know I was inside, but I put my legs against the door, trying to hold it in place. Then, completely out of nowhere, there was a gunshot.
That would have set it off for me. That would have set it off.
Not from the men, though. It was from farther out in the woods that were surrounding the area. Both men stopped for a moment, then sprinted back to their truck. Within 30 seconds, they were gone. I still had no idea what that was, but I knew if I was going to leave, now was my best chance. I fled from the camper and straight into the truck. I did a quick glance around as I started it up, but didn't see anyone in the woods that had fired their gun. I drove down the path and onto the main road, stopping an hour later at a relatively busy truck stop. What really happened back there is up for debate. Honestly, I think that by some miracle, a hunter or someone camping had been close by and saw what was happening, so they fired a warning shot to save me. Considering how remote I was, though, it's just so unlikely that I can't say for sure, but it's really the only thing I can think of. If not for it, though, my truck and camper would probably be anonymously listed on Craigslist right now, and I probably never would have been seen again.
Okay, that first one wasn't scary at all. It was good. It was interesting, but it wasn't scary. But it was a true story. That probably would have scared me in real life. Like, no doubt. I would have been terrified, but I would have played it different. As soon as they pulled up and they sat that car 5-10 minutes, I would have hopped in the front seat and pulled off. You feel me? That was stupid what he did. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's try to find one more. All right, your boy came across this one because the thumbnail looked wild. And it's 3 true Halloween horror stories. Halloween is like around the corner. That's my favorite holiday, you know what I'm saying? I love scary stuff. I grew up around scary stuff. So, we about to watch this. This might be the last one because your boy kind of busy. Like I said, I'm settled in, but I'm still like doing stuff and moving stuff around, you feel me? But I'm trying to be consistent again, you know what I'm saying? But let's watch this video.
Halloween night has always been just another date on the calendar for me. While people partied in ridiculous costumes, I was at my office, huddled over a dimly lit screen. Fixing code was my life, and that night was no different. So, when Julian, my coworker, called about a file crash, I didn't think twice before heading in to fix it. By the time I was done, it was close to 1:30 a.m. The streets were deathly quiet, while the moon was a merely cold, distant eye overhead. I was so damn tired that all I could think about was getting home, taking a long shower, and crashing into bed.
That's how
15 minutes, that's all it would have taken. The night air was heavy and still as I drove through the empty roads. Totally normal. But as I passed an old, almost forgotten bus stop, I saw her, a girl standing alone under the flickering streetlight.
That's creepy.
She was dressed like Samara from...
That's creepy. This what we looking for. This now I got the chills as soon as I seen her. This what we looking for. That's scary. And I'm down here by myself and I can't see what's in front of me because my monitor like big like this. This doing it. This giving your boy the chills. This is the last good banker, you feel me? I just had to let y'all know this what we looking for.
From the ring. Pale skin, dark hair hanging in wet clumps over her face. She couldn't have been older than 14, standing there all alone in the dead of night. I pulled over and rolled down the window.
What?
Hey, you need a ride? I called out. She turned slowly, her face still hidden beneath the curtain of hair. For a moment, I hesitated. What if she took me for a creep and rang the cops? But then she nodded timidly.
Thanks.
She slid into the passenger seat. Suddenly.
Am I tripping? Am I tripping? Y'all see what I'm seeing? Do y'all see this? Why would he let that in the car? I'm just sorry. I would have left her that night. Drove right past her. I wouldn't even make eye contact. She could have ran in front of the car. She probably would have got ran over. Ain't no way, boy.
A pungent odor like damp earth and something else, something rotten, filled the interior. I tried not to gag and blamed it on her overzealous Halloween costume. You really went for the looks, didn't you? I giggled, trying to lighten the mood. Her skin was an eerie shade of gray, mottled and blotchy, as if she'd been underwater for far too long. The attention to detail was disturbing. It wasn't until we drove across the bridge that she spoke.
It's not a costume,
she whispered. I let out a nervous laugh. Right, so what's your name?
Samara,
she replied. Even though my eyes were glued on the road, I couldn't help the chill creeping down my spine.
That's how I feel.
I cleared my throat. Aren't you a little old for trick-or-treating, Samara? She laughed then, a low, rasping sound that made my skin crawl.
I am, but Halloween is my favorite night. It's a shame my parents don't let me celebrate anymore.
Why's that? I asked, regretting the question the moment it left my mouth.
They think I'm sick. I spend most days locked up in the attic.
Her voice was barely a whisper, but the words clung to the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Before I could react, Samara slowly turned to me. Her hideous face was fully visible in the soft light. I noticed her skin first, peeling, hanging in ragged strips from her cheeks. It didn't look like makeup. Then, my eyes traveled down to her arms and the raw red flesh exposing beneath it.
You want to see a magic trick?
She about to vanish.
She asked, her lips curling into a smile that sent ice through my veins. Before I could respond, she reached up and peeled a patch of skin from her face. It came off in one sickening tear, revealing more of that oozing crimson flesh. I had never slammed on the brakes like that before. What the hell is wrong with you? I shouted, but she just laughed, started pulling at more patches of skin, ripping it from her neck, her arms, her scalp, everywhere. Blood dripped onto her lap, and the smell, oh God,
pull over and get out the car.
Thick and putrid filled the air. I couldn't breathe, my vision blurred, my hands trembling as I fumbled for the door handle.
Crashed the car.
The air was thick, choking me, and that laughter, it wouldn't stop. I threw myself out of the car, my feet stumbling as I broke into a run. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I don't know how long I ran, but eventually I found myself at a gas station. The harsh fluorescent lights felt like salvation. I staggered inside, breathless, as I tried explaining the incident to the clerk. In a second, the cops were informed. The officers arrived quickly, and when I explained what had happened, they exchanged looks that were to remain my nightmare for the rest of my life. They didn't think I was crazy, but their silence was almost verbal. They escorted me back to the car. I was still there, the engine idling softly, but the passenger seat was empty. Instead, an older couple was standing by the side of the road. Their faces were contorted with worry. The officer spoke to them briefly before turning to me. "Mr. Miller, this is Mr. and Mrs. Peterson," one of the cops said. "Their daughter, Mary, she's been missing since last week." I stared at the couple, my mind struggling to connect the dots. Mary?
She's not well.
Mrs. Peterson said, her voice trembling.
She had a fever years ago. It did something to her skin. The bullying at school broke her irreparably. Mary thinks she's Samara. You know that girl from the horror movie, The Ring? Was drowned in a well for being weird and creepy.
I felt the blood drain from my face. The girl, she wasn't some ghost. She was real. All of it. Everything she said, it was real.
What?
And it's even more twisted that she found similarities with the dead girl from the movie Ring. The cops asked where I'd last seen her, but I could barely get the words out. My mind kept flashing back to her peeling skin, her laughter. I mumbled something about the bus stop. As they drove off, a cold dread settled in. What if they didn't find her in time? What if she hurt herself, or someone else? Halloween is about masks and make-believe, but sometimes we can barely tell if it's a costume or...
That was good. I'm scared. That was good. I'm scared. And look, y'all probably think I'm a coward, but it's different when you're in the house by yourself. It's nighttime and you're in a basement. Wow. I should never put my setup down here. I'm probably about to move it upstairs. Right about to move it upstairs, bro. Oh my god, bro. All right, yo, that's it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's it for today's video. We might watch another one tomorrow. I don't know. I ain't gonna lie. I'm scared. I'm sweating from being scared. This shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm out of here.